The cabin shook like it was about to tear apart. Warning lights flashed red across the cockpit. Smoke drifted from the vents, sharp with burned wiring. 220 passengers clutched their seats. Children cried, adults prayed, and the officers who mocked her now sat frozen. Then the cockpit door opened. Captain Adrian Cole didn't call for his crew. He called for the quiet woman in row 31. She stood guard carrying 12 years of combat maintenance behind her and walked past the men who had laughed first. Every life on board now hung on her hands. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. Welcome to Grateful Stories, where tales of compassion and kindness are told. Let's uncover what really happened. The morning haze over JFK International clung to the glass like a heavy veil. Passengers moved through security in long, restless lines. Staff Sergeant Helena Cross carried nothing but a green duffel bag and the posture of someone trained to endure. Her boarding pass had said economy, row 31F. She expected nothing else. But at the gate, the scanner beeped twice, and the attendant handed her a new slip. Complimentary upgrade, the woman said, smiling through routine. Helena glanced down. First class, seat 2A. She blinked, surprised, then nodded her thanks. The cabin smelled different: polished leather, citrus oil, faint perfume. She slid her bag beneath the seat and opened a dog-eared paperback. It should have ended there, but across the aisle, two men noticed her. Their voices carried the easy arrogance of practiced entitlement. Late 30s, broad shoulders, close-cropped hair growing out just enough for shore leave. Navy, without question. Anchor tattoos flashed when they gestured, rings glinting under the cabin lights. "What's she doing up here?" one muttered. Glass in hand. Clerk. Probably. Somebody's idea of diversity. His companion laughed, ice clinking. Helena kept reading, eyes steady on faded Latin text. She had heard it all before: mess halls, hangars, convoy tents. The chorus never changed. One leaned toward a passing attendant. "You sure about the seating? She doesn't exactly fit first-class standards." The words weren't quiet, designed for others to overhear. The attendant hesitated. Her smile faltered, caught between uniforms and rules. She crouched beside Helena, voice apologetic. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but there's been a mistake. I need you to return to your assigned seat." Helena closed her book with quiet care. She marked the page with the boarding stub, then looked up. No anger, no protest, only the calm of someone too practiced at swallowing insult. "Of course," she said. She rose, lifted her bag, and stepped into the aisle. All eyes followed. The officers smirked as she passed. "Support staff should know their place," one whispered. "Give them a uniform? They think they belong everywhere." Businessmen pretended to adjust ties. A woman shifted uncomfortably and looked at the window. No one intervened. Helena walked the narrow aisle back into economy. Row 31F was already half blocked by overstuffed luggage. She shoved her duffel under the seat and sat down. Around her, silence spread like a fog. People had seen enough to know the story they wanted to tell. She was the mistake, corrected in front of them. She fixed her gaze on the oval window. Her expression never moved. Inside her chest, a familiar stone settled deeper. Humiliation wasn't new. She had carried it in barracks, in hangars, on airstrips where rank determined worth. It weighed like extra gear, invisible but always there. The row grew cramped as passengers shuffled in. The man beside her avoided eye contact. Across the aisle, a child stared openly. The girl couldn't have been more than 7. Wide eyes, hand tugging at her mother's sleeve. "Why did they make her move?" she whispered. The mother hushed her quickly, cheeks reddening, but the question lingered, hanging heavier than any insult. Helena folded her hands in her lap and breathed slow. The plane pushed back from the gate. Engines whined, wheels jolted against pavement. Cabin chatter rose and fell like restless surf. Helena leaned against the headrest, eyes on the wing outside. The gray metal flexed with each bump of taxi. She listened, not with ears alone, But with every trained instinct, the aircraft rotated, nose lifting, engines surging into full power, bodies pressed into seats. Overhead bins rattled. The city shrank below. Lights scattered like embers across the night. Around her, routine set in. Tablets glowed. Conversations dropped to murmurs. Blankets unfolded. For most, the flight had begun. Helena didn't relax. She never did. Too many years in transports had taught her that quiet skies could turn loud in seconds. She tilted her head, tracking rhythm. Engines spoke in tones only some could hear. Most passengers heard noise. Helena heard sentences. The left turbine hummed steady, but beneath it she caught a faint tremor, a hesitation, buried deep. To her, it sounded like the start of a cough. She closed her eyes, letting memory fill the gaps. Afghanistan, Kandahar airfield, a CH-47 gasping smoke in desert heat. Another time, a Black Hawk vibrating wrong just before hydraulics bled out. Back then, she had been the one under the fuselage, hands raw with grease, wrench slipping against bolts, listening not to manuals, but to the machine itself. She had learned its language, the stutter of bearings, the hiss of bleeding lines, the whisper of turbines straining. Every note carried meaning, if you listened long enough. Now, 31 rows back, she pressed her palm to the armrest. The vibration passed into her skin. Not turbulence, something subtler, harder. She looked at the cloud banks building beyond the wing. The engines pushed the Airbus higher, higher, until the Atlantic spread like ink. The machine whispered again. Passengers shifted in their seats, reaching for water bottles, adjusting blankets. They had no reason to notice. But Helena noticed. The girl across the aisle still watched her. Helena turned, met the gaze briefly, then gave a small, tired smile. The child smiled back, comforted though she didn't know why. Above them, cabin lights dimmed. The sign clicked off, seatbelts optional. The long night over the ocean stretched ahead. Helena leaned against the cold window. Her book stayed shut on her lap. Her mind stayed awake, listening to every murmur the machine let slip. She told herself it was nothing, a routine flight, ordinary as the next. But deep down, she knew machines never lied. Somewhere between the hum of turbines and the pulse of the fuselage, a story was beginning, one only she could hear, and no one else yet knew how much it mattered. The first sign was smell. A faint chemical tang slid through the vents, sharp against coffee and disinfectant. Most passengers dismissed it as airplane air. Helena knew better. Thin smoke curled above first class. Not fire, not yet just a gray veil, drifting like warning. Heads tilted upward. Conversations faltered mid-sentence. "Please remain calm," a flight attendant called. Her smile was stretched tight, too quick to be real. She moved briskly, clipboard clutched like a lifeline. Helena pressed her palm to the armrest again. The vibration was off, deeper now. The left engine whined with an uneven pitch, a cough hidden in steady noise. A shudder ran through the fuselage. Overhead, bins trembled, locks rattling in sequence. One burst open above row 17, spilling a laptop onto the aisle. The sound cracked the fragile calm. A man shouted, scrambling back as the computer skidded across his shoes. Children wailed, voices piercing the stale air. The aisle grew frantic. People twisted in seats, pulling at attendants for answers. Blankets and drinks tumbled to the floor as turbulence nudged the aircraft hard. Helena steadied herself, eyes fixed on the wing. The flex pattern looked strained, metal bending against air pressure. The engine's stutter grew sharper, like breath catching in a sick chest. Passengers near her whispered rumors. Electrical fire, engine failure. We're turning back. Fear traveled faster than smoke. 2 rows ahead, the same Navy officers rose. Their earlier smirks had vanished, replaced by sweat and clenched jaws. They grabbed an attendant, demanding answers no one could give. "Why haven't we changed course?" one barked. The other's voice cracked, stripped of authority. This flight's out of control. What's the captain waiting for? The attendant tried to soothe them, voice trembling. We're following procedures. Sir, please take your seats. Neither man listened. Helena stayed silent. She scanned the ceiling vents, measuring the haze. She listened harder, mapping stress patterns the way others read words. The plane jolted again, harder. Cups spilled, trays clattered, seat belts clicked frantically. Someone screamed near the back. In that chaos, the cockpit door unlocked. The metallic snap cut through panic like a gunshot. Every head turned toward the front. The door opened. Captain Adrian Cole stepped into the cabin. His presence shifted the air instantly. Close-cropped gray hair, lines etched deep into a weathered face. His uniform carried no decoration, but his bearing silenced the row. He scanned the passengers once. No wasted motion, no visible fear. Authority walked with him like a shadow. The Navy officers lunged first. "This is unacceptable," one shouted. "You need to explain what's happening right now." Cole didn't flinch. His eyes passed over them, cold and final. Their protests shrank against his silence. Then his gaze moved through economy. Not searching, not guessing, targeted. He stopped at row 31. Staff Sergeant Helena Cross. Her name rang out, crisp and deliberate. Every passenger froze. Helena's head snapped up. For a moment, she thought she'd misheard, but his eyes locked with hers, leaving no doubt. "Yes, sir," she answered quietly. Her throat felt dry, but training steadied her tone. Recognition cut through humiliation like lightning. Gasps rippled through the cabin. People twisted in seats, whispering her name under their breath. The child across the aisle stared in wonder. The Navy officers spun around, confused. One sputtered, "Her, you can't be serious." The other stammered, something half-formed, drowned by silence. Cole's voice was steel. "She has the experience this flight needs, more than anyone else on board." His hand extended, not ceremonial but urgent. Helena unbuckled without hesitation. Her body moved before thought caught up. Years of orders and emergencies had built reflex stronger than doubt. She rose, duffel brushing her leg, and stepped into the aisle. Every eye followed, hushed now. Some faces held relief, others shame. She passed the Navy officers slowly. Neither could meet her gaze. Their earlier certainty had evaporated into quiet disgrace. Cole waited at the curtain. His expression betrayed no question. Only urgency, only trust. Helena crossed the last row of economy. Her boots tapped against the narrow floor. Whispers trailed her like smoke. The curtain parted. First-class passengers shrank back, eyes wide. None spoke as she passed. At the front, the cockpit door stood open. Inside, red lights pulsed against instrument panels. Alarms shrieked in mechanical chorus. Cole gestured firmly. "Staff Sergeant, with me." And together they stepped inside. The cabin behind them remained silent. 220 lives held breath at once. The woman once dismissed to row 31 had just become their only hope. The cockpit was smaller than most imagined. Heat pressed against the walls, thick with the bite of burned wiring. Panels glowed red and amber. Warning lights strobing like frantic heartbeats. Alarms shrieked at uneven pitches, some low, some piercing, all demanding attention at once. The air felt charged, like standing too close to live current. Captain Cole dropped into the left seat. Lieutenant Fowler gripped the controls, sweat shining under cabin light. Both men looked drained, fighting a machine unraveling under their hands. Helena buckled into the jump seat behind them. The harness clicked, restraining her in cramped space. Her eyes swept the panels without hesitation. "Temperature sensors are lying," she said quickly. "Port engine reads thermal stress that isn't there. If you throttle back, you'll lose it entirely." Cole's head snapped toward her, then to the dials. He eased the throttle forward, cautious but steady. The engine's ragged rhythm smoothed just slightly. The drone of turbines regained a fragile balance. Fowler gaped. "How the hell did you see that exhaust trail through the window?" Frequency mismatch. It's interference, not heat. Helena answered. Cole nodded once. Decisive. Outstanding. Keep talking. Her confidence slid into place, muscle memory returning with every word. Another alarm wailed, sharper this time. Hydraulic pressure dropped in jagged pulses. The control yoke shuddered in Fowler's hands. Bleeding pressure, he muttered, fighting to keep straight. Cole cursed under his breath. Helena leaned forward, scanning cross feeds. Your valve is stuck half open, she barked. Pressure's dumping into the wrong circuit. Override manually? Reroute auxiliary now. Cole's hands moved without pause, flipping guarded switches. Fowler followed, knuckles white against levers. The shudder eased. Rudder control smoothed into something usable. Cole shot her a glance. You've done this before. Her answer was calm, clipped. C-47 in Kandahar. Hydraulics bled out. Same pattern. We kept it alive long enough to land. Fowler stared at her, disbelief and relief colliding. Cole didn't hesitate. You're staying in this cockpit until we're on the ground. Clear, yeah, sir, she said, voice steady as steel. Another alarm cut short the exchange. Landing gear indicator flashed amber. One wheel refused to lock down. The display blinked stubborn warnings across the screen. Fowler swore, slamming the panel. Cole checked pressure. Not enough force in hydraulics to drop it. Helena leaned closer, calculating fast. Gravity release is the only option. But if you trigger it wrong, it'll jam halfway. Cole exhaled, jaw tight. You tell me when, he said. She closed her eyes for half a beat, tracing stress in her mind, then opened them. Certain. Wait for the pitch drop. Let turbulence yank it free. Then pull release. Her voice cut through alarms like a scalpel. Cole gave a sharp nod. Outside, storm clouds closed in. The Atlantic below turned black, froth whipping against itself. Lightning carved jagged lines across the horizon. Turbulence slammed the plane downward. Passengers screamed as overhead bins bucked. Fowler wrestled the yoke, arms straining. Don't fight it, Helena shouted. Let the wind take her ride it. Don't muscle it. She's built to flex. Cole loosened his grip, adjusting with light hands. The airframe groaned but steadied. The storm tossed them, but the wings bent without breaking. For a moment, the plane moved like it wanted to survive. In the cabin behind, fear swelled louder than the storm. Prayers whispered, sobs muffled under oxygen masks. Some clutched hands, others buried faces. The little girl from row 31 gripped her mother's sleeve. Mom, she'll save us. Right. The mother pulled her close, unable to answer. Back in the cockpit, Helena never looked away from the gauges. Her hands traced invisible diagrams in the air. She was listening to the aircraft as if it spoke in secret tones. Another jolt. She slammed her palm against the frame. Now pull it. Now Cole yanked the manual release. A metallic clunk echoed through the belly. Indicators shifted. 1, then 2, then 3 green lights. Gear locked. Not perfect, but enough. Helena exhaled hard, then reset her focus. Fowler glanced back at her, wide-eyed. You're not even sweating, he said. Her voice carried the weight of memory. I learned calm in Kandahar. Chinook lost an engine at night, full of wounded. We had 10 minutes to save them. You don't panic in that kind of silence. Cole didn't look back, but his grip tightened on the throttle. Respect ran in the unspoken space between them. Outside, lightning struck again, bright against ocean black. Rain hammered the windshield in violent sheets. The runway in Greenland was still far ahead, hidden in storm. The plane rattled like it might tear apart. Panels shook, alarms screamed, metal vibrated under stress. But Helena's voice anchored the cockpit. Steady on your left side. 2 degrees correction. Hold fuel feed constant. She'll carry you through. Cole obeyed without question. The aircraft responded, trembling but alive. Behind them, 220 souls held fast, hands clenched, eyes shut, whispers rising like a single desperate prayer, all waiting on the woman once shoved out of first class. The storm broke over Greenland like a wall. Sheets of ice rattled against the fuselage. The cockpit windows blurred under driving snow. Through the haze, runway lights flickered into view. A pale ladder of white strobes cut through sleet. Thule Air Base waited like a narrow island of concrete. Field in sight, Fowler said, voice tight. Cole nodded, eyes steady on the center line. Helena watched the gauges with a surgeon's focus. Wind shear slammed across the nose. The aircraft lurched sideways, then corrected. Rain hardened into pellets that drummed against metal. Right crosswind, 25 knots, Fowler warned. Copy, Cole answered, adjusting the crab angle. Hold her just off the red. A warning blinked on the gear panel. The right main lock sensor flickered amber, then green. Helena leaned in, reading the rhythm. It's not the strut, she said calmly. Over centers flirting, not seated. Give me a light yaw. Cole tapped rudder, a small left-right S-turn. The light held steady green. Helena exhaled, but only once. Keep speed. Don't flirt with a stall. ATC cleared them for immediate landing. Emergency vehicles lined the runway, lights strobing blue. The wipers fought and lost against freezing rain. Flaps set, Fowler said. Manual spoilers armed, Cole replied. Reverse right only on touchdown. The ocean vanished beneath a curtain of sleet. Then the runway rose fast, brutal and narrow. Helena braced, eyes on the rate of descent. 2 degrees less, she called. Let the wind carry, not crush. Cole eased off, hands feather light. The aircraft sank into ground effect. Snow streamed sideways, making the lights stutter. Every surface hissed with winter. Hold, Helena said softly. Hold. Now. Cole committed. The wheels hit hard. A single violent slam, like a gavel striking steel. The airframe bounced once, then bit down. Spoilers popped and held. Reverse roared, the right engine screaming against rain. Smoke curled off brakes in white coils. The plane wanted to crab. Crosswind shoved at the tail like a bully. Cole fought it with small, precise inputs. Easy, Helena murmured. Don't chase the gusts. Guide them. Fowler rode the rudder, jaw clenched. They barreled down the runway in a river of ice. Speed bled off in stubborn chunks. The gear rattled, then steadied. Passengers cried out as the cabin lurched. Seat rails groaned, overheads trembled, oxygen masks swayed. Someone laughed like a sob breaking free. 6,000 feet, Fowler announced. 5, 4. Cole eased out of reverse. Brakes took the last bite, hot and relentless. The storm screamed around them and then stopped moving. They were still. The only sound was rain ticking on metal. For one suspended second, no one breathed. Then the cabin erupted, crying, laughter, palms colliding in ragged applause. Relief spilled like light into a locked room. Cole shut down the engines in careful sequence. The cockpit dimmed to a calmer red. Helena loosened her harness and finally let her lungs fill. Fowler turned to her with wide, exhausted eyes. You just saved us. She shook her head once. The machine listened. The forward door cracked open to winter. Cold rushed in, clean and knife-sharp. It smelled like snow, kerosene, and survival. Down the stairs, the runway glistened with sleet. Fire trucks idled, steam rising from their roofs. Medics waited under hoods, faces pinched white. Passengers began to file out. Some clasped hands over mouths, still crying. Some looked upward, as if the sky might nod back. 2 men stood near the bottom, soaked in silence. Their uniforms were darker with wet, their eyes down. The Navy officers did not speak. Helena followed Cole into the winter glare. Sleet soaked her jacket in seconds, heavy and cold. She could feel the rain find the seams and win. The plane behind them steamed like a living thing. Streaks of melted ice ran along the skin. Its lights blinked, tired but defiant. Cole stopped by the nose gear. He faced her, posture square, expression clean of drama. Then he raised his hand in a crisp salute. The ramp, the crews, the passengers, everything went silent. A single note of respect cut through the weather. It hung there, bright as a bell in snow. Helena returned the salute, precise and spare. No flourish, no extra breath, just a line of honor drawn through the storm. The two officers finally looked up. Shame colored their faces, a muted red under sleet. One gave a small, broken nod. Helena did not hold their gaze. Apologies were not a currency she needed. The landing had paid every debt. Firelight flickered across the belly of the plane. One truck eased forward, washing the wheel hubs. Steam roared, then thinned. A medic approached with a silver blanket. Helena waved it off with a quiet thank you. She preferred the honest weight of wet canvas. She slung her duffel over one shoulder. Water poured from the strap in a thin, steady line. It felt like a tether back to the machine she had kept alive. Passengers flowed past, hushed in a new way. Not afraid, now attentive. The little girl from row 31 clutched her mother's hand and stared. Helena gave the child a small nod. The girl smiled through chattering teeth. Something in that smile felt like the first warm room after a long road. Cole stepped closer, voice low. You belong wherever metal fights to keep breathing. Helena met his eyes and let the truth stand. Snow swirled around the landing lights, turning cones of brightness into soft tunnels. The runway looked like a gallery of ghosts and engines, somewhere inside the terminal. Coffee waited. Helena turned toward the stairs leading up. Her boots left shallow prints that filled with water and vanished. The duffel thumped a steady rhythm against her back. Behind her, the plane settled into the weather with a tired creak. Not defeated, just finished with this fight. Investigators would come with clipboards and cold hands. They would catalog faults, trace wiring, and debate sequence. They would assign numbers to the chaos. They would write it all down so the next crew might have a map. But the map would miss one thing. The moment a dying machine decided it wasn't done. The moment someone asked it the right way to keep going. At the stairwell, Helena paused once. She looked back at the aircraft, at the crews, at the slate gray sky. Then she stepped inside and let the door close on the storm. The voiceover belongs here, warm and simple. She never needed first class. She belongs where failing machines need someone to keep them alive.